All right, well, welcome to today's podcast, guys. I'm your host and your real estate agent, Alex Hollander. And today I'm hanging out and I'm spending some time with Jorge Campos.
Hey, thank you, Alex. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So Jorge is the CEO of Century 21 Plaza. He's a professional real estate entrepreneur, in my opinion. By the way, I got all this off of your LinkedIn bio. He's a speaker, he's a trainer, he's a business owner, and most importantly and most recently, he's my real estate broker. And just recently had taken on a role training me and kind of mentoring me. So thank you for joining me, Jorge.
Oh, thank you, Alex. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure being here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. And can you tell us a little bit about yourself that I didn't already mention?
Well, yes, I'm going to go back way back when I got here to the U.S. And believe it or not, I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder. Yeah, so I wanted to be the Mexican Arnold Schwarzenegger, let's put it that way. And that was the reason why at 18 years old, I immigrated to the U.S. and I immigrated to California because I had the best gyms in the world. So that's why I ended up here. So that was the main reason why I came to the U.S.
Hold on. I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember a couple weeks ago, I got out of my car. You were in the parking lot, and you're like, "Hey, Alex, do you work out?"
I remember I asked you, right?
So now it makes sense because I was like, I wonder why he asked me that. Does he think I'm fat or like? But that's awesome. Okay, cool. So you came here to do that, and
yes, and that didn't work out, But I didn't want to go to Mexico. I didn't want to go back because I felt that. Here there were a lot of opportunities. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to make my life here in the U.S. So I stayed here. Kind of like one thing led to another. I ended up in real estate.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So you've been in real estate for then how long?
I've been in real estate for the last 26 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
26 years.
So through the recession, through the ups and downs, you've been here through it all.
So I've seen it all. I've seen it all, the up and downs, and right now, what's happening, but I've seen it all, so it doesn't really scare me.
Okay. So as a new real estate agent, right?
Uh-huh.
Somebody new to the business as a sales agent.
Yes.
I look at you as somebody who's astronomically successful. So how did you transition from like, hey, I'm here in the United States, I'm here in California, I like it, I'll try out real estate, to where you're at now?
You got to go through the steps, right? And because in the beginning, sometimes you don't have the vision, you don't see it. I think that it's something that happens, through time. Like in the beginning, when I got into real estate, I never thought that I was going to end up with a Century 21 franchise, for example. I never thought that I was going to become a real estate broker. I just wanted to kind of like, make ends meet. Sure. And that was kind of like the reason I got into the business. But then, one year after the other, you start like, hey, wait a minute. Let me see the possibilities here. I'm a real estate agent. Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I become a broker? Can I have an office? Can I start investing? Can I start having my own property? Can I do units? So I think one thing leads to another.
Sure. So it's kind of like a domino effect.
It's a domino effect. Yeah. Yes, definitely. It's a domino effect. Things change. So sometimes maybe the final product is not going to be exactly how you visioned it. But if you always keep positive and working hard, you're going to end up in a good place.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the things that like drew me to real estate as a career choice was the flexibility. And I think when agents say flexibility, a lot of times they're talking about their schedule.
Yes.
I'm not thinking about schedule. I'm talking about flexibility in direction, in vision. If like exactly what you just said, if something doesn't work out, it's a very real possibility that you can just pivot another direction and you're still in the real estate industry, real estate field, and using things that you learned in maybe past transactions, past situations to kind of advance. Because I've seen, and looking at your history, researching you a little bit, looking at your bio, I've seen that you've pivoted quite a bit. You've done different things, which is really cool.
Yes, and you have to because, things change, market changes, things get better for you. For example, like, at the beginning, I never thought that I was going to be investing in apartment units, for example, or in real estate. But things get better for you. You start saving some money and says, well, wait a minute, I'm in the real estate business and I have a real estate opportunity to purchase here. So you start investing. Then on my end, I also got into the lending industry because one of the things that I've noticed is that in the beginning, it was very hard to find a good lender to work with me. So I said, you know what? I wonder if I can make my own loans. So that's kind of like how I got into the lending industry. So just, one thing leads to another. And like you said, you can pivot, but see, real estate, the industry, it's huge. It's huge. And you can do, one thing, you can do another one. You can, like, for example, I see real estate agents that only work with sellers. There's a real estate agent that only concentrates on condos. Like all he sells, he's the condo king. That's what he calls himself, the condo king.
He brands himself as the
Yes.
condo king.
And all he does is condominiums. That's all he sells. That's his niche.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yes.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And again, that's kind of what drew me back into the business. And when I say back, you don't know a whole lot of my history, but I've been in real estate, in property management for many, many years. So I worked underneath and was mentored by one of the biggest real estate investors and multifamily housing owners in the San Fernando Valley. We had over 3,000 units at the time, over 130 apartment complexes that we were overseeing, and I was running operations for him. And when I stepped out of that to get into ministry, that's kind of where I was the last, 3, 4, 5 years. My heart broke a little bit because I was like, I really like what I was doing. Like that, there's a lot of potential, a lot of things that he was grooming me for, but I felt a different calling at that time. But when I decided to get back into real estate, even though I did interview with other brokers, deep down in my heart, I kind of had this sense like Century 21 Plaza was where I wanted to go. Now, I had some connections. I had some contacts already in Century 21 Plaza. But when I came for that interview and I met you, because I actually you happened to walk in my interview, I was already like, oh, okay, this seems like a place for me, a place where I can grow.
I remember that day,
Yeah.
and I'm happy that you decided to stay with us.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question. I'm glad you said that. Would you agree that bringing me aboard as one of your real estate agents was the best decision you ever made?
It's one of my best ones.
That was a joke. You don't have to answer that.
You know what? It was a good decision. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely, because I feel that the combination that what Century 21 can offer, as far as tools, trainings, as far as like coachings and everything that they offer, plus the combination of you being a very hungry real estate agent, someone that I feel, or at least my perception, it's someone that really wants to succeed in the business. I think that's the perfect combination.
I agree. I 100% agree. I think everybody who's hungry, who's motivated, who has a little bit of business acumen and willing to learn a little bit of skill set, they can succeed in this business. They just got to be willing to try. And I agree 100%.
There's a really nice, interesting book called Think and Grow Rich, right? And it talks about the 13 steps to success. And the number one is desire, right? Because that one's very hard to learn. Like desire, either you have it or you don't.
Right.
And I saw that in you. And having that part, that's how it starts. That's where it all starts.
Yeah, I agree. I know I'm personally interested in knowing, I think people who are listening or watching this, who may also be visionaries, who may also be up and coming real estate professionals or investors or just whatever it is they're trying to, pursue. I'm pretty sure they're also interested in knowing as well. But in your storied career, all the things that you've done in this business, what do you think is one of the best decisions that you've ever made?
I think the best decision that I made is coming here to the U.S. And I'm going to give you 3 decisions. Because that I didn't feel it was a business decision. It was kind of like just a hunch, right? So when I came to the U.S., I think that I came to the best country in the world, to be honest with you. And then I ended up in California, which I believe it's either the best state or one of the best states in the whole U.S. So just that in itself, being in the best country and being in the best state or one of the best states, that was a huge advantage because opportunity was here, right? But see, I didn't think it was a business decision. So it wasn't like a business decision. It was just something that, I wanted to be a bodybuilder and I said, listen, California is where the best bodybuilders are, so I'm going to go there. But it turned out to be, I believe, my best decision. Now, in regards to business decision, I think getting into the business of real estate, That was my number one. That should be on the top. That's my best decision. And the second one that I can think of, it would be being associated with Century 21, the actual brand of Century 21, because we were independent. We're an independent broker for like 13 years. And making the decision to become a Century 21 franchisee, I think that was the second best decision that we've made. And what I say we've made is because we're actually partners with my brother. So with my brother Enrique, so we're 50-50 partners in the business. Awesome. We pretty much do everything together, yes.
Is he your older brother or younger brother?
He's my older brother.
Older brother,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I've met him before. He's a cool guy. Cool guy, yeah. Okay, opposite to that.
Yes.
So let's reverse that question around, right? In all your years, hands down, and I'm sure there's a lot, but what is like the craziest, most like, wow, I can't believe that happened situation that's happened to you in real estate specifically?
Yeah. I was actually working with a buyer, and I ended up selling the wrong condominium.
No.
Like the wrong properties. I was in the same building, but it was the wrong condominium.
What?
And for some reason, everybody missed it. Like escrow company, title company. So it was at the end. It was just, I think it actually recorded, and then we have to unrecord the title. So it was like, I think the stupidest mistake that I ever made.
So I could picture you walking up, handing him the key. He puts it in. So it's not working.
That's
it's
exactly what happened. They're like, oh, congratulations, let's see your property. And you know, at the time, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like there was social media, to be honest with you. Facebook wasn't even invented. But I usually go with the clients and say, listen, you know, let's. We didn't do the pictures and all that kind of stuff, right? Because we didn't even have cellular phones at the time. But what happened was that when we went to the property, I says, well, wait a minute, that's not the property. It's actually this one. It was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's this one. No, I know what I'm buying. It's this one. I was like, oh my God.
So wait, was the wrong property, the one that you actually purchased, was that a better property, better unit?
No, it was a worse
unit.
Yeah,
oh man,
yeah, it's a worse unit. And we couldn't stay with it. Even if it was a better unit, we couldn't stay with it. But that was embarrassing. That was really, really embarrassing. That was a very good learning experience.
Man. So at that time, were you an agent? Were you a broker?
I was an agent.
You were an agent.
It was in I think it was my second year of being an agent. And I remember that back in the day, for some reason, I left out of the country. I had an emergency. So that's when I got lost, a little bit lost on the transaction. And that's what happened. So that was the worst, kind of like the worst situation that I can remember.
Sure. I can imagine as an agent that we probably make a ton of dumb mistakes. Like just like the dumbest things sometimes, right? You know, like, and there's not, as a broker, you're just like, let's fix it. You know what I mean? And you got to stay positive and try to train through, and it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough.
And you got to go through the steps. See, that's why I always tell, especially younger agents, hey, there's really no, like they say, there's no elevator for success. You have to go through the steps, right? But if we can avoid having those dumb, mistakes, that's for the better. And that's what we always try to do. Use the experience to the new agents to make sure that they don't make the same mistakes that we have made in the past.
Yeah, and that's key. That's key because you learn from your mistakes. You learn from every situation. I recently heard somebody say that every transaction in real estate that you complete, you're 10 times better because of it.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
Yes,
I thought that was a great, I was like, okay, good to know. I got to get some transactions under my belt.
Yeah, there's some agents that, they come across like, hey, I have a lot of experience because I've been in the business for 20 years, right? But that really doesn't matter because if that's a real estate agent that does not produce, so 20 years, but he only made 20 transactions versus someone that has been in the business only 3 years, but has already made 25, 30 transactions. So the 3 years is going to know more than the 20 years because it's not a matter of time. I think it's a matter of how many times you do the same thing.
I like that.
That's what gets you better.
So if I'm being completely honest, one of the main things that I hear from agents right now is they look at me like I'm this young whippersnapper, like, oh, I've been in this business 25 years, you
Yes,
know?
yes.
So now I have some ammunition. So
Yeah,
give me a year.
because it doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, give me a year. I'm going to pull that on them. Like 20 years, huh? How many transactions under your belt?
There
you know?
we go.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. You said something earlier about when that situation happened where you accidentally sold the wrong property to a buyer. You said we didn't have social media, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't take pictures. So how did agents how do they market themselves? Was it like
It was everything was printed. So printing was huge back there. I mean, it was huge. Like, printing companies were making a lot of money because everything was printed material.
Sure.
So you would go house to house, door by door, and then you'll distribute flyers and stuff like that. So everything was pretty much printed out. Yes. So that was a big thing back then. It was printing. It was face to face. It was calling people on the phone. That's how you did marketing.
So how do you feel about marketing now? Like, do you feel like, what's your opinion on social media just generally?
You know what? Social media, I feel that depending on how it's used, it could be the greatest, the best thing, but it could actually be the worst curse to somebody. So I'll give you an idea. If you're a business owner, right? So you as a real estate agent, and you take advantage of social media, right? As a business, it's the greatest thing because it's faster, it's better, it's cheaper than what we were doing before, right? You save a lot of time. You don't have to be distributing the flyers if you can just by a click distribute that post through thousands and thousands of people. So it's big. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to a business, right? But then on the other hand, if you're just consuming the information and you're not using the platforms to your advantage, it could be the worst curse. And I've seen one of the things that I've noticed, Alex, and I don't know if you notice it. You're fairly young, but one of the things that I've noticed is that I've seen a lot of anxiety and panic attacks with younger people. And I think it has to do a lot with technology. So technology, don't get me wrong, I really like technology, but I feel that you have to know how to use it. Because if you use it the wrong way, it can really, really affect you. So when somebody asks me about technology or social media, I always say, well, you got to make sure that you use it and not get used by social media.
That's good. You said two things that I want to touch on. I'll do the second one first. You said about anxiety, younger generation kind of having some issues, right? That are very apparent. Like we see it, in society, we see it. Those of us who have kids, those of us who are around kids, we see it. I just saw something today. It's funny that you said it, that from 1970 till now, our technological advances are so far beyond what anything pre-1970 has had. So like our technology has outpaced our minds.
Yes, I agree on it.
Yeah.
100%.
And I could see that. I totally understand that. I totally get it.
I think that we were not ready for that fast growth of technology. I think we're just grasping, what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. One of the other things that I was thinking about, and it's also pretty relevant when it comes to social media, when it comes to real estate in general and realtors or just people marketing on social media, and you hit on it. Sometimes you get consumed by it and you're not using the platform. You're using the platform, but you're using it to consume and not to push, right?
Yes.
And the best example of that is I guarantee you earlier this week when there was a media blackout, if you remember Facebook,
Yes.
I bet you everybody was super productive.
Yes.
Like there's no like Instagram for people to scroll through. Like just everyone's just working because they got nothing else to do,
Yeah, there's actually a book by Grant Cardone and says sell or be sold, right? Because at the end of the day, it's either you're selling or you're being sold by social media. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I feel like we're off on a tangent, but I like the tangent. So if you don't mind, I have one other thing that I saw recently that I thought was hilarious. And it branches kind of like social media, but it also talks sometimes about like the iBuyer programs or Zillow, things like that are out there. And I didn't prep you with this. This is just,
Yes.
I heard it today, so I thought it'd be funny to talk about it. But I recently saw a listing that kind of made the rounds on social media. It went viral. It was a for sale by owner listing. It was $1.6 million listing in the Los Angeles area. Right?
Okay.
Which, okay, cool. For sale by owner. If there's a for sale by owner watching or listening right now, I got nothing against you, but what are you doing, man? So this guy, again, saw the price point, right?
Uh-huh.
He posted on Zillow. He uploads 32 photos of the property.
Okay.
And 2 of the photos, I kid you not, Jorge, in the reflection of the mirror, he is pantsless. No drawers, no underwear either, the whole thing, just out.
Wow.
And people saw it, went live. It was an actual listing on Zillow. Nobody checked it. Nobody saw it. So this guy's junk is just on social media, on the internet for everyone to see for 2 days before Zillow takes it down.
There's a lawsuit coming.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So use an agent, guys. Like those kind of things are just, you can't, it's terrible. You know, it's terrible.
Yes, and I think that it goes back to the value that the agent offers, right? And the good agents, the good, well-knowledged agents will bring value to those for sale by owners. So, I think that a for sale by owner should do at least get an interview with a good agent, and they'll see the upside of selling with an agent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. That kind of leads me to my next question that I had for you. I do appreciate you. I appreciate Century 21 Plaza. I think that everything that I've dealt with in the last 3 months has been professional. Training has been great. One-on-one time with you, which is huge. Like things like that. Like you even coming here today. These are all awesome things that you've provided me to help me grow in my career as I'm starting out as a new agent, right? And I also see how dedicated not only you are, but the people around you. There's people in the office that are helpful. They're nice. They want to help. They answer emails, things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So thank you. Why do you think hiring someone like myself and by extension Century 21, right, to help somebody who's looking to buy or sell real estate is the best thing to do? Because there are for sale by owner people out there. There are people who have options. They can hire other firms, discount brokers. There's all these different, there's competition out there. But why is Century 21 Plaza and by extension their agents and by extension me the best choice for you if you're looking to buy or sell?
Well, see, as I told you, I was an independent broker for like 13 years, right? Before I joined Century 21. And the reason why I joined Century 21 is because first, it was the reputation that they have, right? And it was brand recognition, because branding is huge, right? Some people don't agree with it, but I feel that branding is extremely, extremely important. But the part that I really liked about Century 21, it was the training, the tools that they offered to a real estate agent, right? So that was one thing. And then we as an office, because Century 21 Corporate is not going to do the whole thing, right? It's not going to be like magic. See, they have to do their part. And then we, as an independent franchisee, we have to do our part as an office. So we have to bring something to the table, some value to the table to a real estate agent. And that's how we hire real estate agents out there, right? And then the real estate agent has to do their part, right? Has to do someone that is dedicated, someone that really wants to learn. And this is where you come in. When I interview you, you came across, and we never know how someone's going to turn out to be, but you came across of someone that, had the desire, which is very, very important, had the motivation, right? And had the knowledge, because you were knowledgeable in regards to the business, right? And you took real estate as a business. And that's extremely, extremely important. See, some real estate agents see themselves as an employee, but some of them will see themselves as a business. And the ones that see themselves as a business are usually the ones that succeed the most. And when I saw you, I said, you know what? I think we have something good with this kid. I think that he's going to be good. He's going to be one of the best agents that we have in the office. And you're always at the meetings. You don't miss the meetings. You're always learning, right? You're always doing your stuff. You're doing social media. You're giving out valuable information. You're giving out value, which I believe That's the most important part of it, because why would a seller want to pay 30, 40,000 of dollars to sell their property if they're not going to get any value for it? And see, one of the things that I think a seller has to understand, that you, for example, could represent them on a sale of a property, and yeah, maybe, charge a 30,000 commission, but hands down, they're going to get at least 50 or $60,000 more if they were actually selling the property for sale by owner or by themselves, right? So that is the reason why, the office, Century 21, it was a perfect combination.
Yeah, I agree, and I thank you for those kind words. This boosts my ego, which is awesome. But yeah, I do think it's a good fit. I think that there's a lot to learn, and I think that you're willing to pour out,
Yes.
Which is great. Any broker who's willing to, any boss, any CEO, anybody in charge who's willing to kind of pour out onto even if it's not the next generation, but just people trying to learn.
Yes.
I think that's key, and I think we need more of that in this world, and I appreciate that.
And I think one of the things that I think the younger generations keep me on my toes. And that's something that I really, really like. And I'll give you an example, this podcast. Can you believe that this is my first podcast that I've done? And it was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
Right?
You're a
because,
natural.
Yeah, I wanted to do, let's do it.
Yeah.
If this is what the younger generation is doing, right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because it keeps me on my toes. So that combination, I really, really liked. Yes.
So let me not really put you on blast, but I thought it was really cool. You showed up to one of the office meetings in some Jordans one day.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, yeah, that's so cool,
And it was because of my son.
That's
so
awesome.
I have a son, a 22-year-old, and he was the one that, hey, Dad, do you want me to buy you some shoes? So it was like, yeah, sure, just choose them. I was like, okay, do you like these ones? I was like, they're a little bit weird. I was like, no, they're the ones that everybody's using. Like, oh, you know what? I got some young kids in the office, so let me get them. So that way, let's see what they think. And every young kid was like, hey, man, you got those shoes. I like them. Like, that was funny. That was funny.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So this is a random question.
Yes.
So as a new agent, and I say this in jest, like joking too sometimes, but like what's one thing that you feel every real estate agent, every new agent coming into the business, or maybe if they're not new, just every agent, what is the one thing they have to have? And I'm not talking like skill set. I'm not talking about attitude. I'm talking about like, what is a physical thing that every real estate agent needs to have?
Hands down, a CRM. CRM stands for Client Relationship Management, right? And it's basically a system, you put it on your computer. It's a system where you keep in touch with your clients, buyer or sellers. And that's extremely, extremely important because things fall through the cracks. Like, for example, let's say that someone just bought a property. Chances are, Alex, and you know this, chances are that he's going to need a lot of help. It's just like someone having a baby, right? It's just like, hey, I just had a baby. I need a lot of help with my baby because I don't really know how to do this or how to do that. So, a mom needs a lot of support when they have a baby. I feel that a homeowner needs a lot of support when they purchase a property. So you got to keep in contact with them. And I think the CRM or this system or the system that I'm talking about, it kind of like lets you keep in touch when you have to keep in touch with that person, right? Like, for example, when someone purchases a home, you might want to put on the system, hey, I got to give at least a call every 2 weeks to this new buyer. Right? Because I need to know how he's doing, if he needs something, blah, blah, blah. So maybe after that, you put on the system to call every 3 months, 4 months, just to say hi, holidays, birthdays, or stuff like that. So the CRM would permit you to do that. So hands down, physical stuff, CRM.
So you're saying it's not a used white BMW.
No.
No, I agree. The CRM is like game changer.
Before it was that. Back in my day, it was a vehicle, right? And the nicer it was, the better. I think that now it's a little bit different. You can show up with a nice Tesla, and the client will be happy. I think that clients really look for value. Yeah, it's just that area of just impressing someone of, your vehicle or how you're dressing or, the watch that those times are over. I think that people got smarter, right? And they recognize the value, the real value.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Before I came on board with you guys, before I decided to become a real estate agent, I had long hair, I had a huge beard, I went through this phase of like, I'm just gonna be an outdoorsy kind of guy, and I remember telling people as I was preparing myself to get into real estate, I'm like, I'm just gonna be like authentically me, and people are gonna love me for me. And then very quickly, when I started like actually getting down to it, I was like, I gotta at least cut my hair. Like this is, But I agree. I think people want authenticity. They want value.
Yes.
I think that nowadays anybody can really lease an expensive vehicle or like borrow a watch. Like there's ways that you can get certain flashy things. And you'd be surprised, man. I've encountered people, especially with social media. And they could have 450,000 followers and look like they're a big deal, and then you meet them and their net worth is like $7,000 in the bank.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
like, oh man.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's easy to fake the funk, I guess.
Yeah, it's a fake news.
Yeah, there you go, fake news. Yeah. Okay, so I want to wrap up, but Halloween's coming up, and
Okay.
I heard a rumor about you.
Yes. I love Halloween. Man.
Yeah, I heard
As a matter of fact, you know what? On Saturday, we're going to horror nights.
Nice.
Can you believe that I've been taking my kids since they were like, I swear, it was like 7 years old. I took him to horror nights, 7 years old. People were saying like, what? Are you crazy? They're only 7 years old. I said, well, but they seem to like it. So we have gone to horror nights every year. My son is like 22. So we've been every year, except last year because of the pandemic. But yeah, I'm doing horror nights Saturday. And I'm getting my costume ready for Halloween.
So I'm not going to ask you what your costume is because I feel like that may or may not be a secret you want to share. But what is the scariest costume you've ever?
The scariest was Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's the one I heard about. So there was a rumor going around in our office that Jorge here, he likes to scare people on Halloween, and you showed up one Halloween with a chainsaw. And I was like, really? Like, yeah. I was like, that's so funny. That's awesome. You know?
I just got a kick out of it. I don't know why. I don't know. I think it brings me good memories when I was a kid, I guess. But I just love Halloween.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, to wrap it up, last question for you.
Yes.
Do you have any advice for new agents like myself who, you said have drive, have motivation, they're trying to break into the business? What's like the one advice you can give them that you feel would be like the best advice to give?
Never stop learning, right? Specialized knowledge, it's extremely, extremely important in every career. Now, you can be very, very good at something, right? You could be a guitar player, but if you're the best or one of the best guitar players because you practice, because you're always learning how to play the guitar and getting better, you're going to be very successful because there's going to be people that want to use your services. In real estate, I think that knowledge cannot be hid. People will see and people will feel if you're knowledgeable or not. And knowledge brings a lot of value because if you're very knowledgeable in real estate, people will buy from you. Like people will say, hey, this guy really knows his stuff and he's going to get me the property that I need, right? Or he's going to sell me and get me top dollar for my property. So I think that the best advice that I can give someone is never stop learning. Always learn, keep learning, listening to podcasts like this ones, listening to books, reading books, doing audiobooks, or just never stop learning.
All right, man. That's awesome. Well, Jorge, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you, Alex. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here.
It was a real treat, man.
Yeah. Hopefully you get to do some more podcasts, as you go along.
I will. I liked it. I felt comfortable.
Yeah. And you have a wealth of knowledge that I think is so valuable. And if someone's not listening to you, I don't know what they're thinking if they're trying to be in this business. You're the man.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you at the next meeting.
Okay. We'll see you there.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. How'd you feel?
Great. How did you?
It was cool,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
I feel like you got a lot of good information out, which is huge.
Uh-huh.
I will. I can send you some clips too, like of
Yeah, let's do
specifically
that.
what
Let's
you're
do
saying,
that.
you know,
Let's
so
do
you can
that.
utilize
Let's do
that.
that. Yes. Yeah, let's do that.
And then if you want, I mean, I don't know how much you like doing this kind of stuff, but obviously, you know, I can always connect you with Brandon, and if you ever, you know, want.
You know what? I really liked it. Uh, I think that it was great. I think that I'm gonna use it later on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use it for myself, and if you ever want to do something, so sometimes you know, I didn't tell you this, but I'm in a business, and I think this could help you a lot. I actually got into a business where we do, you know, like influencers, they always try to sell something, right? But the problem with the influencers when they try to sell something is that they don't have like the logistics to buy the products and distribute the products. So some of them don't. Like the big ones do. You know, they have their own websites, they have the Shopify's, so whatever you buy from them, they'll be able to provide it to you.
Yeah.
Inventories and all that kind of stuff. But see, we created a company where we do that, all that, for the influencer. So let's say, for example, that you're an influencer. I come in and say, hey, Alex, you know, what is it that you do? Well, let's say that, you know, I'm a rock star. And I'm very famous and I have 3 million followers and stuff like that. I was like, well, what do you sell? Well, I don't sell anything. Well, let's sell something. So let's sell T-shirts. See, we're the ones that take care of all the logistics of buying the T-shirts, distributing the T-shirts, sending the T-shirts. So we do that part. So all you have to do is on your Instagram or your social media platforms, you just sell. Right. You just sell. And we take care of the whole thing. Yes. So the reason I got into that business because it's a partnership with other three friends of mine. So I'm kind of like a silent partner, but the reason I got into that, it was because of the influencers. Because I felt that having that connection to the influencers was going to help me a lot, you know, selling other stuff, right? So once I get into that, and if I get influencers that I can bring you, you know, you can do this or you can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
So, yeah. So I'll make sure that I'll keep you updated in that business.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let me take a selfie and then I'm gonna have
Sure.
Brandon take a photo. And then
Sure.
Let me text Brandon. Cool. He's waiting out in the hall. Oh, clear to close. I just gotta clear to close. That's
Oh,
awesome.
nice. Congrats. Congrats.
My first one.
Hey, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I have a bigger office because you mentioned that Amanda is going to get her license, right? She
Yes.
got the license already.
She's taking her test in 2
Okay.
weeks. A week.
Is she going to be working with you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
we're
going to
gonna
get
be
you a bigger office because that's a two-person's office.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'll show it to you. Because the one that I showed you is very small. You're going to be very uncomfortable there, especially with Amanda. And the other one, it's way, way, way bigger.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And then so then I'll wait because I was already thinking like, all right, what do I?
No, let me show it to you so that way you kind of know whatever you're gonna do with it. You kind of know like what to do.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, because we're using it as a storage, so I'm gonna take everything out. It's a very very good office. I don't know why they're using it as a storage, but we're gonna do some things to the. We're gonna put like these kinds of floors. We're gonna paint it, and then you take it from there.
Okay. So it's gonna be painting. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
hoping.
you're gonna like it, and it's you know has a big window, and you're able to see the street, so it's gonna be. It looks way way bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
And I think you're gonna be more comfortable.
That's cool. I just gotta break the news lightly to my mother-in-law. She's.
You know
It's emotional, man.
Oh,
Sometimes,
that
yeah.
was weird because the other day, you know, she was complaining about her office, right? And it was like, you know what, Anita, I'm sorry it fell through the cracks. That those are things that, you know, Baldwin was supposed to take care of, blah blah blah. So, but we're gonna take care of you. Like, okay, perfect. So when I told her, I said, listen, I'm gonna get Alex an office. She was like saying like, wait a minute, why are you gonna get it? Like, oh, you should be happy. Yeah, you should be happy. It was like, no. I'm very happy.
Mm-hmm.
She says, I'm happy. It's just that, you know, it took me a while to get there. It was like, Yeah, but because you got there, I'm assuming that Alex being related, because I didn't know what to say. Being related to you, he's gonna get there like faster. Blah, blah, blah. No, I'm happy for him. Like, okay, you
Yes.
better be happy for him.
Right, yeah. But I mean, especially now that Amanda's in there, and Amanda's her TC too. I mean, she, you know, Amanda kind of acts like her personal assistant a little bit too. Like
Oh, okay.
a lot of times she's just driving the business and then kicks it to Amanda, and Amanda's doing what she can. Which there's so much more she can do when she's licensed that'll help, you know.
Yes.
So we'll see what Brandon's at.
She's getting a lot of business from the Redfin
Anita,
applications.
she is,
yes.
yeah, she is. They're weirdos.
Yeah, yeah.
They're weirdos.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's one. She's kicking me a percentage to help her. So and it's good for me because I'm learning these like every transaction you learn. So while I'm not on the file, I'm helping her handle things, you know. And I'm learning as I'm going because I learned a lot on this last one. The first one I learned so much, especially with the lender and dealing with that. So now I'm doing it again, but I'm not on the file. She's just giving me a percentage. And so this guy it's a Redfin guy. And he's like a type A personality. But like you deal with all kinds of people, I guess, you know.
And we're gonna talk a little bit more about doing the financing, because I'm gonna give you another option of doing it yourself, doing the loans yourself, or maybe do 50-50. I'll give you some options, because if you don't find the right lender, I think that we can come up with something that you'll be making a lot more money on the lending side of it. I don't know if Jaime was giving you something.
No.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, if he's not going to give you anything and he's giving you that type of service, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Who's kind of hustling really hard to kind of get me is Maria.
Maria, yes.
Yeah,
She's very, very good.
Yeah.
She's a very good loan officer. She is. She's better than Jaime. Let's put it that
For
way.
sure. I could tell her. Yeah.
Yes.
How'd it go?
Hey,
Good, man. It was awesome.
Good,
It was
man.
really good.
Good,
Awesome.
good.
I was wondering if you could take our photo.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Of course.
You
Of
know,
course.
photographer. Kick in $5 for that.
Oh yeah, there's always a fee. It's the upsells where you get them.
I think it actually it was really good, man. The content flowed well.
Do you guys want to sit down and take one?
Yeah,
Sure.
like it's
Sure.
Good. Yeah.
Looking like you're. Oops. Promise I know how to use the iPhone. Where's your photo app?
Are you a Galaxy guy or something?
No, I have an iPhone. Where's your photo app there?
I have too many apps in there. Sweet. Thank you, Brandon. Oh, that's perfect.
Cool.
Thank you, Brandon.
Cool, of
Nice
course.
meeting
What was
you.
your name
Thank you.
again?
Jorge.
Jorge.
Yes.
Jorge.
All right, do you want me to
Very
walk
nice
you
to
out, or?
meet you.
No, I'll do myself.
Are you sure? Okay, cool. Like I said, I'll send you everything, and then
Okay, cool.
see you Wednesday.
Cool. See you Wednesday.
Thank you again, Jorge. I appreciate it.
Thank